We will never experience the fullness and the richness of what's for us by holding on to what's not. So if the vibe of this video feels a little different than what I normally post, it's because it is. Oftentimes I feel like my thoughts are better conveyed in writing, so sometimes I will find myself writing down different thoughts or things that I've experienced or different lessons that I've learned from those things. And I haven't quite decided if I'm going to create a separate channel for that or not. I am just sort of moving as I feel led to. And so I hope that this resonates with you. And if it doesn't, we're not going to stop posting the other content that we do. But I hope that you find yourself in this at some point or another. I wrote this piece at about 1:45 in the morning one morning because it was on my heart, and it's called Loss is Hard. We don't talk enough about loss. Losing the job, the friendship, the relationship, the money, the status. Insert your loss here. Loss is hard, and please, for the sake of my sanity and others, please don't get me started on unexpected loss. That might require its own separate piece. Nevertheless, it's hard, it's ego-busting, it's gut-wrenching. It takes form as the self-esteem deflator or as the biggest self-worth question mark. It's the gateway to your biggest transformation or the fast lane to a personal hell. Whatever your descriptor is, plainly stated, it's hard. It's painful, and sometimes I'm not certain that there is enough space held for it. In 2022, I experienced a gut-wrenching loss in between watching all 150 episodes of In the Heat of the Night and wondering why Virgil permed his hair. I had a ton of time to process this loss. Here's what I discovered. Feel the feels. When I was in the military, I was conditioned to hide pain, and as you can imagine, that translated into so many other areas of my life, but this particular loss just wouldn't let me hide. It wasn't until I made a decision to surrender to my feelings that I started to manage them better. This loss bruised my ego. It hurt my pride. It made me question everything about myself. It was the most uncomfortable I'd felt in a very long time, but I couldn't escape it. So I decided that I was not going to hide. I wouldn't pretend that I was okay. I was not, and I gave myself permission to feel the feelings. I didn't restrict myself to a time limit. I didn't give myself only an hour a day to cry. I honored and acknowledged the feelings. I thought to myself, when we're happy, we don't rush ourselves out of happiness. We don't beat ourselves up for being too happy or celebrating too long. Why do we do this with unpleasant emotions? Sadness is a very real emotion, and rushing it away didn't make me feel any better. So I felt it. I acknowledged them. I honored those feelings of sadness, defeat, and frustration. I allowed myself the space to have this very real emotion and reaction to my loss. Butterflies don't return to their cocoon. I was in a coaching session describing the loss. I was talking about how I had read so many books and how I was trying to find my way back to the old Cari when the coach asked me a question that prompted more thoughts than answers. He asked me, who was Cari before 2022? As I described her, it dawned on me that Cari before 2022 felt so unfamiliar. Before I allowed myself to feel the feels, I was in such a rush to get back to who I was when in reality, I would never be that person again. The loss was the physical representation of a caterpillar morphing into a butterfly. Have you ever seen a butterfly go back into its cocoon? It was not possible for me to return to the previous version of me. When I accepted this, I was able to stop harassing myself about returning to this perceived sense of normal. I accepted myself for where I was and the prospect of who I was becoming. It was also hard for others to embrace this new version of me, but we're capable of doing hard things, right? You have won. I'm not sure that we ever fully make it to the other side of loss. In one way or another, we carry remnants of it with us every day. What I can share is that if you happen to allow loss to be the gateway to your biggest transformation, you may find that it was necessary. For me, I eventually found relief, and I can't say when it might happen for you, but if it gives you any solace, it took me almost a year. That loss was painful. That loss took me through all 150 episodes of In the Heat of the Night, several seasons of Matlock, and revisiting my crochet needles. That loss had me reading 2 to 4 books a month, not answering my phone, and not even working for 3 months. But I concluded that if losing this thing meant that I found myself, then I would have still won. that revelation didn't make the pain any less painful. It just meant, for me at least, that this pain was not in vain. When we are experiencing loss, it's hard to acknowledge any affirmations, positive words, or thoughts and prayers. However, I want to share with you, when you're ready to receive it, of course, that sometimes we have to lose in order to gain. We will never experience the fullness and the richness of what's for us by holding on to what's not. For me personally, I had to be okay with never understanding the why. I recognize that there will be some questions that we will never get the answers to. And if we can move past the incessant need to know why and simply acknowledge that because of this loss, you found your peace, your joy, your confidence, your self-worth, your voice, insert what you found here, then my dear, you have won. I pray that you find what's looking for you.